Growing up in Ireland, baking was part of my everyday life. My mum was an amazing cook and she inspired me to become a professional chef. Since then, I have travelled the world perfecting my craft and developing my own unique style. Whether it is over-the-top desserts or even single-serving microwave snacks, I like to say that baking is a science, but it's not rocket science. Everyone can do it. So follow my game-changing recipes and techniques and you will be a bold baker too. Hi Bold Bakers, welcome to episode 3 of my Bold Baking Bootcamp. Last week we did a sugar substitute chart, so in case you missed that video, make sure you check it out. This week we are making homemade gluten-free flours. Now gluten-free flours are a very common ingredient in baking and they add really nice texture to all of your recipes. Today I'm going to show you how you can make 3 of the most popular gluten-free flours. We're going to start out by making an almond flour. Now into our blender pitcher we're going to add in some raw, unsalted, unroasted almonds. On with your hat, and then we're going to blend this up until it's really nice and fine. So for your blender, you want to use a high-powered blender. You want to get something that really breaks up those nuts nice and fine. Now I tried making it on a Cuisinart, but it keeps it kind of lumpy and not as fine as we want it. Okay, so it's been under a minute and our flour is done. Now your flour will roughly take a minute to maybe 2 minutes. The one thing you don't want to do is blend it too much because then it will actually start to turn into like a nut butter and that's not what we want. Okay, the next step for our almond flour is to pass it through a sieve. Now the reason we sift the almond flour is because we want to get it really nice and fine. And I have more notes about how to use these different recipes on my website, so make sure you go over there and check that out. And if you're watching my video for the first time, welcome, and make sure you tap that subscribe button. Okay, great. We have this lovely fine powder underneath, which is our almond flour. And then in the sieve, you have the little lumps of almond. Now don't throw these away. You can snack on them or you can put them into smoothies, whatever you like, but just don't throw them away. So now to store your flour, you want to put it in an airtight container that has a label on it. And you can keep it safe for up to 6 weeks. But if you want to make it last even longer, I put it in the fridge so it stays lovely and fresh for whenever I need it. So our next flour is oat flour. Now oats are gluten-free. However, read the back of your pack because sometimes it can say that it was milled in a mill where there are other flour products. And if that's the case, it might be contaminated with flour. But usually it is just oats milled in a factory with just oats. So we're all good. So we're going to put this into our pitcher. Pop on our lid, and then just like before, blend it up until it's nice and fine and just like a flour. Bob's your uncle. Here is our oat flour. Now just like before, we have to sieve this guy as well. Now just like the almond, you will see some coarse oatmeal left over. You can cook that, do whatever you want. And then as you can see under here, you have really fine oat flour. Look at that. Beautiful. Now I have recipes on my website of how you can use this, so make sure you go over there and check those out. Okay, so that's oat flour. Now we're going to move on to the next flour, which is one of my favorites, chickpea flour. So I love chickpea flour because it can be used in Indian breads, lots of different pancakes, cakes, all that sort of stuff. So into our blender, we're going to add in some dried raw chickpeas or garbanzo beans. On with our hat and then blend these puppies up. Now the chickpeas will take longer to blend up because they're hard beans, so they'll take around 2 minutes or so. And that's why a high-speed blender comes in handy because it really breaks them down well. Okay, so it's been 2 minutes. This guy is lovely and powdery. Now we're going to sieve him as well. Now the chickpea bits that are left over in the sieve, you want to discard those because we can't use them. And then what you're left with is this lovely yellow flour. Just look at that. It smells really good. This is great for making like Indian flatbreads, pancakes, things like that. So there you have it, 3 easy homemade gluten-free flours. They could not be simpler to make. I really hope you enjoyed this Bold Baking Bootcamp. Stay tuned for next week where we're going to make dairy-free milk. And make sure you check out all of my other videos.